Hey Cowboys Nation, let's go for another round of news from America's team. Watch until the end so you don't miss any news and sign up to stay tuned for everything that comes out about the Cowboys.
Cowboys Micah Parsons rips Skip Bayless in new post. There has been a lot of criticism thrown the Dallas Cowboys' way, but linebacker Micah Parsons has heard enough from Skip Bayless. The Fox Sports host came after Parsons in a recent post, but Parsons is firing back. On January 14, Bayless went on X to take a shot at the third-year pass rusher after Dallas lost to the Green Bay Packers. "Can't wait for Micah Parsons' podcast tomorrow," Bayless wrote. "That's what he does best." There has been a lot of criticism thrown the Dallas Cowboys' way, but linebacker Micah Parsons has heard enough from Skip Bayless. The Fox Sports host came after Parsons in a recent post, but Parsons is firing back. On January 14, Bayless went on X to take a shot at the third-year pass rusher after Dallas lost to the Green Bay Packers. "Can't wait for Micah Parsons' podcast tomorrow," Bayless wrote. "That's what he does best." Parsons has done his show The Edge since the early parts of the 2023 NFL season and is a natural in the setting. At least based on the Cowboys star's words, it sounds like Bayless wanted a piece of that. It may have been similar to New York Jets QB Aaron Rodgers' weekly appearance on the Pat McAfee Show. But after this latest interaction, it's hard to see Bayless and Parsons ever working together. Does Skip Bayless have a point? Bayless' backhanded criticism is petty, but he clearly wasn't impressed by Parsons' performance. After another exceptional season with 14 sacks, expectations were high for the edge rusher and the Cowboys. But Parsons only hit Packers QB Jordan Love once and did not record a sack. He also did not register another stat of any kind, save for his 2 combined tackles. After a season like Parsons just had, it's important to remember how elite he is. But he is also a representation of the Cowboys' playoff issues under head coach Mike McCarthy. Parsons has just 1 sack in 4 playoff games, although he has also registered 3 passes defended and 3 tackles for loss. Either way, his top-tier production in the regular season has yet to translate to the playoffs. It's hard to do, but also something Dallas needs from Parsons if they want to win games. If the Dallas Cowboys are serious about the things that coach Mike McCarthy talked about on Thursday, when it was announced that he was returning as the head coach despite yet another miserable playoff flop last weekend against Green Bay, then there will most certainly need to be changes made. The Cowboys can't afford to go 12-5 all over again in the fall and wilt when the going gets tough in the winter. With that in mind, one change that makes imminent sense for the Cowboys is to swap out running backs, where Tony Pollard was a disappointment. Pollard is a free agent and could well sign elsewhere. The Cowboys could fill his spot with an upgrade to the best running back of his era, Titan star Derrick Henry. Make no mistake, when Henry picks his next team in free agency, he is going to want to win. For all the Cowboys' faults, the team is loaded with talent, and a tough-minded, proven workhorse like Henry could be the fit that hardens that talent into a true contender. "I want to win a Super Bowl," Henry said during an appearance on the Bussin' with the Boys podcast. "I ain't done playing, I ain't close to done playing. I still feel like I can run for another 2,000, but that's for the future to tell." Derrick Henry could sign bargain deal with Cowboys. Sure, Henry is 30 years old, which is considered ancient in running back years. He might not be the same power back he was in 2020, when he rushed for 2,027 yards, becoming just the 8th player to reach that threshold. But don't think for a moment he's lost his rough and tumble touch. Henry rushed for 1,167 yards this season on a bad Titans team. In the last game of the season, he notched 153 yards on 19 carries. Henry had 4 100-yard games this season, which is 4 times as many as Pollard did for the Cowboys. And it might not be overly expensive to bring in Henry, not at age 30. He is coming off a 4-year, $50 million contract with Tennessee, and Spotrac projects him to warrant a bargain basement deal worth $4.3 million for 1 year. Pro Football Focus has Henry landing a 2-year deal at $20 million total, which is a bit more reasonable for someone of Henry's skill set. Henry said he does put winning first. But he is not going to entirely sacrifice the financial side of his next deal. I want to be somewhere that, whatever happens, gives me the best shot at winning the Super Bowl, Henry said. The business side, there's a business side. It has to make sense. I'm not going to just accept anything, at the same time, because it is a long season and we put our bodies through a lot. But I definitely want to be on a roster that can go out there and put ourselves in position to win games and get in the playoffs and contend for a ring. Return to the Titans. Unlikely. Henry did not entirely rule out a return to the Titans, the team that drafted him with the 45th overall pick in 2016. But he said he was surprised that the organization fired coach Mike Vrabel, and that it was clear to him throughout the year that the team was heading in a new direction and was going to rebuild. That could be an opportunity for the Cowboys. Henry said he knew that was the case when stalwart defensive back Kevin Byard was traded. I was like, man, they trade KB, I might be out of here, too, Henry said. When you think of the Titans, I feel like KB represents all that and more. That's when I knew it was getting really. That's what I felt when I first came back, it was definitely happening. It's a business. At the end of the day, the Tennessee Titans are gonna look out for the Tennessee Titans. Everything's got an expiration date, it's just some are a little sooner than others. Definitely a different year. Cowboys predicted to move on from $39 million star. The Dallas Cowboys could be on the brink of making significant changes this offseason, following a disappointing blowout loss in the NFC wildcard game to the Green Bay Packers. Given that the Cowboys are projected to be over the salary cap as the offseason begins, and Dak Prescott could be on the cusp of signing a new contract extension that would make him among the highest-paid quarterbacks in the NFL, Dallas faces some tough decisions in the coming months. Prescott's supporting cast of offensive weapons could wind up being an area the Cowboys target to trim and create cap space. According to the Big Lead, Cowboys star wide receiver Brandon Cooks could ultimately wind up being a cap casualty. Brandon Cooks is an attractive option to cut for cap savings, Kyle Koster writes for the Big Lead. And this offense doesn't necessarily need much at wide receiver behind CeeDee Lamb. Especially when it feels like the move is to make the whole offense out of CeeDee Lamb. Dallas should try something different and get a more dynamic player in the Deebo Samuel mold anyway. Moving on from Cooks would create a void in Prescott's target hierarchy. Only Lamb and tight end Jake Ferguson saw more targets in 2023 than Cooks' 81, which he caught 54 of for 657 yards and 8 touchdowns. Dallas Cowboys' dire cap situation. Owner and general manager Jerry Jones is going to have his work cut out for him this offseason, just to get the Cowboys under the cap. According to Spatrack, Dallas is currently $11.06 million over the cap, nearly 2 months before the new league year begins on March 13th. Moving on from Cooks, who signed a 2-year contract worth $39 million in 2022, could potentially merely be part of a difficult equation for Jones and the Cowboys. Dallas would create $4 million in cap savings in 2024 by releasing Cooks prior to June 1st, but such a move would trigger a $6 million dead cap charge. However, if the Cowboys release Cook after June 1st, the move would create $8 million in cap space next season, and spread the dead money charge out across 2 years with $2 million in 2024 and $4 million triggering in 2025. The Cowboys could very well look to get younger at wide receiver, by targeting a top prospect at the position in the NFL draft, which would be a more cap-friendly option for the next 3 to 4 seasons than Cook's current deal.